Welcome back, everyone. It's here. And today I've got some r/BestOf for you all. As per usual, I'll be reading you the posts, giving you my opinions, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. This post was collected by Direct Caterpillars 77, and their tagline is, "Satan is not a pogo stick." The original OP is, "Oh, crap," but with a 4 instead of an A. Posted October 28th, 2015 to r/relationships. A year ago, I, 27 female, broke up with my lying boyfriend, 27 male. Today, I found out that everyone else was lying, and he was being truthful. A year ago, I was about to move in with my first serious boyfriend, Josh, with whom I was head over heels in love. When one of my closest friends said that Josh had shown them a nude photo of me on his phone when he was drunk during a party. 5 or 6 more of my friends corroborated the story and told me that Josh also talked in extreme detail about our sex life when showing the photo. It was sickeningly detailed. This did not sound at all like Josh. When I asked him what the fuck was going on, he denied everything. He eventually got very angry and started calling all of my friends liars. At one point, he showed up at my place while some of them were visiting and things got a little physical. It was really a very strange turn of events in my life. Josh seemed so worked up and all of my close friends were calling him a liar. Josh had taken photos of me on his phone, which I know was stupid but heat of the moment and everything. So I trusted my friends and I broke up with Josh. It was heart-wrenching. Josh begged me to believe him. He started tearing up, nearly punched the wall and left angrily. I was really grossed out at the time and felt super conflicted. A few months later, I started dating one of the friends, Alex, who had told me about Josh showing everyone the photo. All of my friends were pushing me to date Alex at the time. We didn't really sync, and it didn't go past a few months, but we remained friends of sorts. So today, another friend sends me a message that says he just wanted to get something off his chest. The story about Josh wasn't true. And were really trying to get me to date Alex. So they made up that story about Josh. After talking to a few of the other people, including Alex, it's all come out that they were lying. It was all this fucking orchestrated bullshit event that totally changed my life. Forever. Apparently they hated Josh and thought he was bad for me and an asshole. That was my fucking decision. I am shaking right now. I cried in the office bathroom for about 2 hours afterwards. I love Josh so much. We were planning a life together. And I've been friends with that group since high school. What the fuck? I guess I'm supposed to stop talking to my friends, right? I cannot possibly come back from this and still talk to them, right? This basically nukes my group of friends, but how could I ever even look at them again? Also, I need closure with Josh. Can I call him? Should I call him? Should I unblock him on Facebook and message him? What do I do? Update, November 6th, 2015. A bit more than a week later. Even though everyone seemed to think this was a terrible idea, I sent Josh an email on Friday. I copied it here. Josh, I don't know if you're still connected to anyone on Facebook, but if you are, you probably already know why I'm sending this, and I know it is totally unfair and selfish to contact you, but I cannot imagine going through the rest of my life without apologizing. So before I say a bunch of embarrassing things, more than anything, I want to say that I am sorry I did not trust you. I am sorry I let other people decide our relationship. I am sorry for what I put you through. But I figure this might be my only chance to say this, so here comes the really lame, embarrassing stuff. I spent the past day thinking about the past year, where I would be if I had believed you, what my life would be like. Would we be engaged? Would we be married? I'm not over you. I want to try again. I'm not asking you to marry me, but if you ever find yourself thirsty, I would love to buy you a beverage of your choice. I want to talk to you again. I miss everything about our relationship. I miss you getting annoyed when I stole your french fries. I miss fighting with you over money. I miss making you breakfast. I miss watching The Office with you over and over. I miss you. My information is still the same. I would not blame you if you ignored and deleted this. Just know that I know. I'm really sorry. So I sent it and tried to take my mind off of it. Just writing it and sending it was extremely cathartic. I spent Saturday morning sitting around watching old movies when someone rang my doorbell. Assuming it was Amazon, I ignored it and waited for the delivery driver to leave so that I could sneak out and grab the package. I was in my robe. After a minute or two, I walked over to the door and looked through the hole. It was Josh. Obviously, my heart leapt into my throat. I had been compulsively checking my phone for a response, but I was not expecting something like that. Everything in my house, including me, was pretty disheveled. I cracked the door, smiled, said hi, and told him that I had to get dressed really quick. What a terrible interaction. So I ran around my place, throwing shit into corners, pulled my hair back, found something to wear, and went back to the door. I'm here for that beverage. I only had orange juice and water, which was also pretty embarrassing, but Josh stuck around anyways. He didn't ask many questions, really. I started to talk about the nude photo incident, but he said he didn't really care to talk about it. We both know all the details now, is what he said. The conversation eventually grew a bit aimless, and we were just talking like old times. It was wonderful. He asked if I was hungry. I wasn't really, but of course I said I was. We went to a nearby burger place that we used to go to all the time. He did ask whether or not I had dated Alex. He didn't seem too upset by my answer. I asked him if he had dated anyone. He had a 6-month relationship in the interim. She sounded great, but I didn't pry. When we got back to my place, Josh asked what I was doing for the rest of the day. I told him I don't have plans. We spent the rest of the day together. Then the night. It's totally stupid to move that fast, but I'm not going to spend much time worrying about it. I'm feeling happy. We spent part of Sunday together too. Then Tuesday. And Wednesday. We discussed what we were doing. 2 single people dating each other was the consensus. Exclusive? Yes. I think the world of him and will always regret what happened. No matter what though, I'm extremely happy I sent the letter to him. It's interesting to think that if he had actually done what everyone accused him of, and then I took him back, I would probably have trust issues. Now, obviously I trust him to the core. He could tell me the world was flat and I'd have trouble questioning him. Just a weird thought I've been having. So, that's the story. We're together again. Will it work out? I hope so. No matter what, things are better today than they were last week. Bit of a sweet fairy tale ending, but can't really complain. I mean, it's nice that things worked out in the end, because good fucking God, what a nightmare scenario to find out that the person that you were in love with and wanting to build a future with, you then threw them into hell with accusations that they shared your nudes around in addition to talking about your sex life, with multiple people in your life cooperating it, and them just having that accusation hanging over their head of, why are all of these people saying this about me? And then finding out later that, oh, it turns out that Alex, this fucking goofball of a human, purposely had him and his friends play matchmaker to spread this lie to break the two up, ruin his reputation, and then throw OP to the wind. And it took someone finally growing a conscience months later to finally say what happened. This is a nightmare scenario where you have 6 people telling you that your partner is doing something monstrous and spreading your personal details and information to them as some kind of trophy. And then you have your partner who's saying, I swear to God, I didn't do that. But you have 6 close friends that you've known since high school who are telling you this. 6 close friends who you don't know are playing matchmaker. 6 close friends who are willing to lie and throw someone under the bus to make you despise them, so that way they have a chance with you. What would happen down the line if that relationship actually worked out? Do you think that he would ever admit that his relationship is built on a lie? That he was lucky enough that she believed him? The lie that he orchestrated and got 5 people to cooperate so 6 of her friends were all saying one thing about this guy? How do you actually combat a scenario like this? Thank God he was understanding of the situation and was willing to at least entertain the idea of potentially having a conversation with her and seeing where things went. Because even if they do end up breaking up or did break up, at least it was on their terms, and not from a lie from Alex. This post was collected by Selene, and their tagline is Team Pie. The original OP is Bud311, posted December 2nd, 2012 in r/legal advice. Had a stroke in the Bahamas and woke up to $55,000 in charges on my Bank of America credit card from hospital. However, I never gave them my credit card. This should be fun, so strap in. I was in Nassau, Bahamas and suffered, I hope I said that right, and suffered a stroke unexpectedly. I'm young, low 30s, and overall pretty active and healthy, so a stroke was the last thing I would expect to happen at this time in my life. So when the stroke hit the left side of my body, it went limp. I wasn't able to talk, walk, or function. It's similar to being paralyzed and all around sucks. The hotel thankfully called an ambulance, which brought me to a hospital. Here's where the fun begins. My girlfriend, let's call her T, went to give them my health insurance card when I was admitted, which covers me internationally, but the hospital refused my insurance and said that I don't have coverage, and insisted on cash payment or they would not treat me. When you're having a stroke, minutes count, so she gave them whatever they wanted to treat me. This is when T gave them my credit card. Important note, T is not an authorized cardholder on my credit card account. She does not have her own card, nor is she an authorized signer or user on my account. She simply went into my wallet while I was unconscious and gave it to them. So I was not able to step in and deal with the situation. I woke up hours later to T crying by my bedside. She was explaining to me the situation. Even though I was conscious, I was not able to process nor have the energy to respond. She was explaining that they would have chased her down the hallway for $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 at a time, whatever they could, as if buying a used car. It was surreal and makes me so mad, but she did not have any other options at the time. She notified my parents, who showed up a day later. My father was raising hell about them not taking my insurance when he arrived, but it was not the time to argue, and made arguments to get me back to the States. T is not an authorized user on my credit card account, but she was doing what she thought was best for me while trying not to let me die. I think anyone else would have done the same. Long story short, I was transported via air ambulance back to the States, Pompeo Beach, Florida, where my health insurance took over, and now that the dust has settled, I have $55,000 in charges on my credit card from said hospital in the Bahamas. I have spoken to my insurance company, and they said the hospital should have taken the insurance when I was admitted, but the hospital prefers cash because insurance companies will pay discounted rates, whereas cash out of pocket is subject to whatever the hospital charges. So the rub is the insurance company will not reimburse me for the full amount, as that is not what they would have paid the hospital directly. Since T is not an authorized user and she signed all the credit card receipts, I already attempted to charge back the charges, but the credit card company has rejected this as a claim, stating I have benefited from the services of the hospital and it is not considered fraud. I'm not trying to stiff the hospital on their bill, rather I want my money back and have my health insurance company pay them what they should have been paid. My blood boils that they chased a grieving, emotional girl for money knowing what they were doing. They took complete advantage of the situation. Does anyone out there have any advice or work for Bank of America Disputes Department that can help guide me anyway, or should I bother contacting a lawyer in the Bahamas? I assume I have to deal with an attorney over there and not here, correct? If so, contact or advice on how to find one over there would be great. Complete side note on where I'm at today. I'm in rehab full-time and started working a few weeks ago, for the first time since the stroke. It's not a pretty walk, but gets me around. My left arm is still flaccid, but starting to move, so I'm encouraged, and the doctors think about 6 to 12 months to get full movement back. They say being young is one of the advantages when in rehab. I guess silver lining? Still sucks though, lol. I typed this post using voice dictation software. Apologies for any typos or grammatical errors or formatting. I sucked with grammar before the stroke. Smiley face. Post update on the 22nd of December, 2018, 6 years later. Update. So United came through and paid 95% of the charges, but 100% of the hospital bill. They shorted me $4,600 because the hospital overcharged me, meaning the invoices added up to more than what they ran my card. Hospital is a bunch of thieves, so now I have to see if hospital will refund me overage or open a new dispute with B or A for the overage. Thank y'all for the advice. Life lessons have been added to the list. So why is it that, like banks in general, when I try making a purchase out of state or try making a purchase that I've made before, I get Wells Fargo like on my ass and calling me like, was your card may have been used fraudulently. This is the fraud department. We have to make sure that this is actually you making the purchase and not like someone else who's using your card. And every time it's like, yep, nope, this is me. But it happens over and over again. But then my card gets stolen and someone makes a $1,600 Ticketmaster purchase and Wells Fargo's like, yeah, that checks out. I have never in my life used Ticketmaster. I have never in my life purchased anything remotely similar to that. But me making the same kind of purchase over and over again, yeah, that's apparently fraud. But a random Ticketmaster charge for $1,600 in addition to some random shop in Florida, yeah, those ones are definitely legit. So I was going to say I'm shocked they didn't call it fraud, but then I remembered my experience with Wells Fargo, and they probably greenlit that of like, yeah, that makes sense. Definitely. Bahamas Hospital for $55,000? Sure. Totally. Nothing weird about that at all. On the final note, I don't blame the girlfriend at all, and I know the reason why he was being so explicit with the authorized card user is because he was trying to make a case as to why the charges could and should be reversed. Not that she had done something wrong. Also, fuck that hospital for being in the position of like, yeah, he had a stroke and I get it that minutes matter, but like, ooh, you got cash on you? Handle the payment after the fucking procedure, good God. This post was clicked by Obsidian Knight 102399. The original OP is She Knows She's Magic, posted to r/am_I_the_asshole, September 27th, 2024. Content warning for mentions of abuse. My best friend is dating my abuser and wants me to reconcile with him, so I kicked her out of my home. I've tried to write this out for days now, but I keep getting too upset to concentrate, so this might be a bit jumpy. I don't have family in the sense many understand family to be, so I've been pretty much a loner with one exception, my best friend Tammy. We met in middle school and just became joined at the hip. Things got changed a bit in college. My parents forced me into a Christian out-of-state college. Tammy applied and got accepted to the other college in the town. So we both went out there and were roommates for 2 of the years before I met my first ever boyfriend. I'll call him Trent. I moved in with him the end of junior year, and I don't know when it started happening, but he went from charming and affectionate to controlling. I don't wish to upset anyone, so I'll hit the pause button and warn you that below is some of the things he did for me to label him abusive. He would put me down and hint that he could find someone better, or that if he cheats, it'll be my fault since I wasn't this or that enough. It started to get physical senior year. At first, it was him pushing me out of the way if he was walking by and I was in the path for whatever reason. Then he would slap me in arguments, calling me worthless, a waste of his time in young years, a broken toy no one will love. I don't have any real self-esteem, so I stayed, thinking I was the problem. And when I called home about it, I was told that the problem was me. I started to make my exit plan the day after I graduated. He had proposed, and I hesitated. And he screamed at me to ask why. Then he swung and punched the wall right next to my head. I fell to the floor in fear, and he tried to comfort me and basically forced me into sex. Hun, he's more than just your abuser. When I woke up the next morning, the ring was on my finger, and he forced me again and later called it makeup sex, saying he forgave me for the way I treated him. That is the extremely short explanation, but there are so many stories of him forcing me into bed, hitting me, or threatening to kill me, and more. So I started to make a plan. I found a shelter in the city nearby. I started hiding things in the trunk of my car. I was in the service industry then, and so I would take more shifts whenever I could, and hide my cash tips in a box of tampons in my purse. And I finally was ready. And left him. Left my phone, I had a new cheap one, and never went back. Tammy knew him and lived near us, but she didn't know about my plan. She messaged me on social media and I told her what happened. All of what happened. So she played dumb when he came around asking where I was, spitting the story that I was suicidal and he was calling the police to find me. He never found me. That was years ago. I'm 36 now, and Tammy is too. Trent is 38. Tammy became a bit religious, but I told her as long as she's happy and safe, I don't care what she leans on in faith. She started to invite me out to her church 4 years ago, and I kept saying no, until I very firmly said if she brought it up again, I would just walk out or hang up. I'm not against anyone believing what they want, I just don't want or need to be sucked into it. I honestly don't mean any offense to anyone of any faith. I myself am just agnostic, and if that ever will change, I'll decide on my own, but I doubt it will. She got a job 2 years ago overseas. I acted excited for her, and I was, but I was also deeply devastated. Without her, I had no one else. By this time, I wasn't in contact much with my family, and I do have service-level friends, but no one that's known me in the real sense. I worked it out with my counselor and just carried on. We stayed in touch online and video chatted a lot. She would show me London, and I would show her my transition to moving to Texas. We would chronicle our explorations of our new cities, and then, one day, it started to slow down on her end, right around the time she went to visit a friend in our old college town. She then asked if she flew to Texas sometime this summer, could she stay with me a few days, and I excitedly agreed. So, earlier this month, just a few weeks ago, she came here. She was off the whole first day, but I figured she was tired. Then the next day we went out and got drunk. She started to cry, and I got us an Uber back to my place and asked her what was wrong. That's when she asked me not to hate her and told me everything. She's with Trent. She's been with him almost a year. I was too stunned to even say anything, and she went on about how it's not what I think and he's changed. She told me he found Jesus and turned his life around and deeply regrets the way he treated me. The more she talked, the more I just shut off. I don't even have it in me to feel anger. I just stared at her, frozen, as she talked, until she said, "Please, just say something." So I did. I told her to get the fuck out. She started to explain it all again. She hated him forever, but they kept running into each other. He goes to church and showed he's changed, blah-de-blah-de-blah. I didn't interrupt her, but when she stopped talking again, I just repeated myself. She argued more, and I would just listen and repeat until she grabbed her stuff and left. It was silent between us for a week until my dad texted me that Tammy called my parents, crying, and told me to get over myself. After all, it's not like I wanted to get back with him, right? And that's what I get for living with a man I wasn't married to. Then she texted the next week rehashing her argument and pretty much demanding I video chat with him to see for myself that he's changed and forgive him. She then blamed me that they can't take the next steps in their relationship because I don't have a forgiving heart, and that I was malicious when I kicked her out. I've spent all of this week trying to figure out if I'm insane to think this is a huge betrayal, a deal breaker. I mean, who even dates their friend's ex? For one, but this? I blocked her after she hinted that my version of things was exaggerated and malicious, but I don't have other friends to turn to about this. I don't think I am, but my and her family thinks I'm the asshole at least for kicking her out in a strange city alone when she was just being honest with me. Am I? Update, December 3rd, 2024. A bit more than 2 months later. Sorry to everyone who reached out and I haven't responded. I honestly haven't been using the app as I had to change phones swiftly at one point and forgot the password when trying to log on my new device. It took Trent 2 weeks. I had a full-time job but also a part-time service industry job as a bartender. He showed up at the bar. It's a small bar, and one of the regulars, Daisy, female 30s, is one of the folk I did confide in about Trent and Tammy. When Trent walked in, I happened to be chatting with Daisy, and she saw my reaction. She asked what was wrong, and I told her that it was Trent. She wasted no time and went to get my manager. Trent sat at the end of the bar, and I took my time checking in on my other bar guests until my manager, Heather, female 50s, came out with the other 2 bartenders, both male 30s. Trent had already began knocking on the bar, asking for service loudly, and I had been ignoring him. He got kicked out quickly and told that we can and do refuse service to him. I got texts from a new number saying it was Tammy and begging for me to answer. She called 4 times, and I didn't answer. She left voicemails with Trent, and one without all telling me that I was concerning them with my hatefulness. How I'm alone in the world, and that's not safe. Who would I turn to if someone broke into my home at night? Things of that nature and religious crap sprinkled in. I was still on the clock and Daisy suggested I stay at her parents'. I know her mom who sometimes comes with her to the bar. At that point, I was shaken enough to take them up on it. Daisy's mom, Rose, female 60, has been sweet enough to let me stay rent-free for as long as I needed, but I eventually moved in with one of the servers at the bar. She helped me look for legal representation, and I filed for a restraining order, using screenshots I had emailed myself prior, old voicemails, and, though we could not prove harassment on Tammy's end, Trent had said enough in the voicemails and messages he had sent that it qualified for a temporary restraining order. I'm safe for now, and the hearing is in January. No one knows where I live currently, and I've shut down all social media. I've been no contact with my family, as they've been pushing me to give my address so they can send a Christmas gift. But when I gave them a P.O. box Daisy is allowing me to use, they got angry it wasn't an address, and that was suspicious enough for me not to trust them. It's strange, but I am slowly making new friendships, and seeing a counselor helps with the stress. Trent is pretty much blacklisted from the square of bars where my bar is. Word gets around. I've not walked alone a single shift since. And that's my update. Not perfect, but I remembered my password when I was checking my email for any additional stuff to send to my lawyer and wanted to let every person concerned about me that I am okay. When this is resolved, I will try to update with more detail. Unfortunately, OP did not make any further updates and even removed their account. Whether or not they just decided to remove it for peace, or because things didn't go their way and they didn't want to update with bad news, we'll never know. It's a damn shame, though, that OP's friend since middle school, as well as her parents, as well as the bastard that she was dating and that Tammy ended up hooking up with, Trent, all blamed OP for Trent's abuse. Whether it's the classic abuser lines, to the parents for some reason siding with Trent, to then Tammy down the line hitting her with, "Well, that's what you get for living with a man before marriage." OP deserves infinitely better, and even if the restraining order didn't work out, at least it does seem like she has a few solid people she can rely on that are within her close circle that she may not have noticed before this incident occurred, and people who do actually genuinely care for her safety. Also, for Trent just to show up unannounced to her place of work and cause that kind of panic to set in, and then for OP to be told, "You just have a really hateful heart." Like, fuck that. The fact that Tammy was very well aware of what Trent did, and even if Trent did change as a person, which I fucking doubt it because he showed up at the bar unannounced, OP is still 100% justified to not want anything to do with Trent with what he did to her. I also wouldn't be surprised if Trent wormed his way into Tammy's life as an attempt to get closer to OP again, or maybe he just sees Tammy as an easy mark. And while I know technically this analogy doesn't work with the frogs in the boiling pot of water because they lobotomized the frogs in order to do that experiment, an abusive relationship is the boiling pot of water. You don't notice it's boiling until it's far too late. It starts off nice and comfortable, something that's alluring, something that has a promising future with it. But slowly that temperature rises, and before you know it, it's now a dangerous situation for you. Because if that pot started out boiling and the abuse was on the table the moment you entered the relationship, no one would stick around for that. You'd jump out almost immediately. But because of that slow simmer and slow introduction to heat, you tend to not notice the little things that begin piling up. Also, my apologies if you found out about the frogs in the pot of water this way. Oh, and fuck you, Trent. This post was collected by I Feel Numb. The original OP is Schnitzel de Chihuahua. I don't know. Posted March 28th, 2017 to Just No Mother-in-Law. Simply titled, The Coffee Urn. For those of you who may not know, a coffee urn is just that big cylinder thing that holds coffee in, like, break rooms and whatnot and has a spigot at the bottom to dispense coffee out. That's a coffee urn. I've replied to other posts, but this just happened last night and continues to unfold, so I thought I would make my own. As a bit of background, I have a policy of accepting that my mother-in-law is always right. When she said I could not keep a secret, I started spilling my guts. She said I was a lousy driver, and from then on, when she told me to turn right, I turned left, and vice versa. This has been going on for decades, but they only moved to live near us around 10 years ago, and up until last year, they spent at least one half of the year in their other home or traveling. Yeah, they're loaded. So they've only been feeling my incompetence full-time for about 9 or 10 months or so. This week is the anniversary of an event that, while very meaningful to them, and therefore should be meaningful to us, is virtually unacknowledgeable by the rest of the world. Moreover, it is a crazy busy time for all of the family involved. My husband is a professor, I also work in academics, and midterms are upon us. And his sister's family Her husband and son work in accounting, her daughter in property management. Tax season and the first quarter financials are happening right now. But none of that is more important than event, which must take priority over everything else. The no in-laws will not even consider postponing the reunion-style activities to a weekend. Everything has to happen in the original 24-hour window, beginning with a cocktail party last night, then tennis and golf today, and a big formal dinner this evening. No, I did not marry a Trump, but sometimes it feels that way. Last night was the opening salvo. My husband has office hours that end at 6 p.m., and rarely does anyone show up so late. But the midterm exam was last week. I went to pick him up maybe 10 before 6, and there was a line of students still waiting to speak with him. He scrambled, made appointments, etc., and we got out by 6:30 and walked in the door of our in-laws' apartment before 7 p.m. I walked into a wall of screeching because we were late. We should have been there by 5. What? Husband is screeching back that he told them we would not be there before 6:30 and so forth. Then we walk into the main room where my mother-in-law announces to everyone that we were late because I just cannot be ready on time. In fact, I am always late. I'm just one of those people who has no respect for other people's time. Not quite the words she used, but that was the gist. All my husband's protests that he was the one with the appointments until 6 p.m. go unheard. She did at one point tell him to stop covering for me. Exact words. This morning I was due at brunch at 11. It is 11:57 right now, and I thought I would type this out for all of you. Then I am getting in the shower. My mother-in-law has called 7 times because she's borrowing my coffee urn for this brunch. That's right, the in-laws are the 1%, but she can neither purchase nor rent her own coffee urn. Bitch, you said yourself I'm always late. Maybe you should have made other arrangements. Hope your friends are enjoying their coffee-free brunch. And update, it's 1:19. I just dropped the urn off. Mother-in-law called 3 more times, and then husband called and asked what the deal was. He was kind of laughing, actually. I told him, remember how I'm always late and other people's schedules mean jack shit to me? He laughed for real. He has classes until after 3 today, so he noped out of this particular brunch. Anyway, I dropped the urn off. The caterer looks unhappy. She apologized, to me, poor thing, and said that the coffee station somehow never got put on the contract. I told her I was certain mother-in-law had requested it not be because she's a cheapskate and planned to use mine and not to worry too much. Then I scooped up my sister-in-law and niece to go get our nails done. Mother-in-law's parting words were, "Be back by 2. We need to go out of the room by 3. That's right. She thinks we're cleaning up. Someone's in for a mid-afternoon surprise. And lastly, yes, I am aware, I am a bitch. No one has to PM me. You are all right. There are nicer ways to handle this. Yep, all of that is true. Right this minute, I could be explaining to my mother-in-law why I feel disrespected and why I think she is wrong and that she should be more considerate. We could have a whisper argument right there in the middle of her annual shindig. Instead, I'm deciding on nail polish. I'm thinking something goth or neon green. Update. The magic words, no thank you. This is a kind of follow-up to my post earlier today about my mother-in-law and the coffee urn and how I'm never going to be on time for an event of hers ever again. Specifically, she told a room full of people I was always late and disrespectful about it, and I haven't been on time for anything since. It was only last night, but I'm planning to make this a regular thing. When I left off, I was settling on a dark magenta nail to really clash with my naturally ghost white pallor. My niece took the neon green because it matches her dress for the evening to the degree that any one color would. She looks like a Jewish Carmen Miranda. I'm not kidding, not even a little bit. Her grandmother is going to shit a brick. My sister-in-law got a blush peachy pink because she's a grown-up. While we're having our nails done, our phones did not stop ringing. The guy who was dealing with all of us, we had no appointment and were in no particular hurry, kept asking if we needed to answer. None of us did. Later we found out the calls were from mother-in-law, but also the caterer because mother-in-law took off to get her hair done, I imagine, and they had no one to hand off the coffee urn. Mine. And the contents of the open bar. Mine now. No, not really. I don't have the storage. 2. In the end, my husband dealt with it, chewed his mother out for not cleaning the urn, and told her not to ask to borrow it again. It really is a bitch to clean. I got a good deal 15 or so years ago, and I'm pretty sure the pain of cleaning it is why. Mother-in-law was very unhappy and said that I said I would be back for all that stuff, and what was going to happen now with the booze, with the room deposit, and that's when husband called me. This call I took. He asked if I had agreed to clean the room, etc., and I said nope. First I heard of it was when we were leaving to get our nails done, and when mother-in-law asked me, I said no thank you, which made him laugh because whenever his parents give me a direct order, I always pretend they're asking if I want something, and I always answer, no thank you. And I'm stopping here to repeat. Someone tells you to do something, get me a beer, give me the baby, clean up this mess, and you smile and say, no thank you, and go do something else, anything else. Take the baby to see the curtains in the other room, ask another person in this room how her IBD is, go make a cup of tea, anything at all. Just don't sit there waiting for an argument. I call it a non-confrontational confrontation because it leaves the orderer with nothing to do but admit she/he is giving orders, and since they are, in my world anyhow, trying to pretend that I'm the rude one, I like to do it politely. Back to the call. I said no thank you, and husband starts to laugh and asks mother-in-law if she had talked about this with me before today. He knew she hadn't, and she grumbles. That's what it sounded like on my end anyhow. We talk back and forth about a few things, and ultimately he says, Schnitz never said she was going to take care of the room cleanup. You never even asked her to. She, sister-in-law, and niece all just had their nails done, so they sure aren't coming back to do it now. Sister-in-law is going to meet brother-in-law and nephew at the hotel. Niece is getting ready at our house, and we will all be back here before dinner. She whines some more. He says to me, I'll be home soon, and hangs up. When he got home, I learned he took the coffee urn apart in her kitchen, made a big mess. It is not hard to keep the grounds from falling around, but there's a trick to it, and brought it home clean. Yay! This is what he was doing while she was bitching about how unreliable I was to not deal with / the event cleanup. This is a fairly typical interaction with the in-laws. They're not pleasant people. Everything is just another step in negotiation with them. I really hate that OP keeps doing W/ for with. I know some of the previous posts' comments said husband should stand up for me, etc., and he does. It just doesn't stick with them from one encounter to the next. Right this moment, he's just getting out of a long hot shower after ranting about them when he got home. He was told to be at the apartment at 5:30. It's 6:55 right now, and we're going to be at least another half hour. The phone has not rung once. So I guess he got through to them this time, but I don't think it was worth the aggravation. Update post 2, in which I get home fairly early and have a good night's rest, the end. Last follow-up to mother-in-law, said she already knew I'm always late, and what gave her the idea I was the cleanup crew. We, me, husband and niece, walked in the door of the event right around 8:30 the night of. Anyone following along might remember husband told his mother we would be at her and father-in-law's apartment by 5:30, or she told him. I really don't know. Either way, we never went to their apartment and instead got to the event as the first people were arriving. Mother-in-law broke away from reception line to grab husband and niece, not me, to join her, father-in-law, sister-in-law, and brother-in-law, sister-in-law's husband. Husband ditched the reception line more or less immediately. Nephew showed up from wherever he was, not the reception line, maybe he was just arriving as well, and joined us, me and husband, and tells us there was quite a ruckus when he and his parents showed up at the apartment as apparently the caterers stole the booze from brunch. It took about a minute and a half to sort out that they didn't hang on to and dispose of only the bottles that were open, as they cannot leave them unattended and they cannot transport open containers from one facility to another. Brunch was at the club and the in-laws, narc-in-laws, living complex. Dinner was at this other swanky place. I was a no-show to deal with the brunch and cleanup, so all they could do was toss it. The story of the caterer's larceny was the talk of the evening, and again, yes, the same firm was handling dinner. As for the evening, I never spoke to the in-laws. I tried to thank them for dinner, but they were clearly avoiding me. Me, niece, and nephew were at the kids' table, 52, 33, and 30 respectively, but yes, we were among the youngest people there. Husband made excuses at his table and joined us more or less as the appetizer was served. At one point, a man, I do not know, came over from the in-laws table to talk to husband and ended up sitting down with us for a while, and then wandered off. He seemed pleasant enough. If he was enlisted to persuade my husband to ditch me and go back to his own table, it failed. But for all I know, he's just interested in husband's work. We left when dessert was being brought out, after toasts, etc. We weren't animals. As husband had to work at 9 a.m. the next day, and nephew was leaving on the red-eye that night. He also had to work the next morning in a city roughly 1,000 miles from these events. So we took him with us. Niece moved to sit with her parents. Sister-in-law thanked me for the mani-pedi. I think she enjoyed herself, it's hard to tell. She didn't put up any kind of fight to answer her phone during the post-brunch meltdown, which is a good sign. And that's that. No more drama, at least for me. I'm now permanently late for all of in-laws' events. But otherwise, nothing has changed. Oh, and no more loaning out the coffee urn. Husband has learned that lesson the hard way. Update 3. Remember my coffee urn? Last week I wrote about an annual event in my husband's family, nothing to do with a religious holiday, just lousy timing this year, and there was a whole episode in which my coffee urn, was a big player. The coffee urn's part in this was to arrive late to brunch with me, the owner of said coffee urn, and later for my husband to spend X amount of time cleaning it, /trashing his mother's kitchen because caterers don't clean not their equipment if you don't ask them to. Apparently mother-in-law didn't, and husband had good sense to know if he brought it back dirty after confirming in-laws, narcissistic in-laws, could borrow it when I had already said no. He would be spending the next few weeks sleeping on the sofa in someone else's house. Yesterday, I got a call from a friend of mother-in-law's asking if I could please bring mother-in-law's coffee urn back, as they wanted to start using it as their weekly bridge club thing. I was speechless. Briefly, usually I can predict what crap she's going to pull, but I did not see this one coming. So I stalled and told the bridge friend that I had no idea where mother-in-law's coffee urn was, because it doesn't exist. I certainly didn't take it home after the event, as I was not even there at the end of the event, and bridge friend agreed that I had indeed left before the end of brunch and never returned. I knew I could count on my mother-in-law bitching about me to her friends about how I failed to clean up after the brunch. Then we both waited for the other to speak, but I have a policy of not filling silence after I have provided a response. Finally, she said something along the lines of mother-in-law said I took it, and I said, I know. The caterer left all the stuff that wasn't theirs in the room, and my husband went and brought it to the in-laws. This is true, actually. I have not even been to their apartment since the cocktail party the night before the brunch. And then, a bright bulb went off in my head, and I said, you know what? Why don't you go over to mother-in-law's house and ask to see the place she stores her coffee urn? This thing is a monster, like 3 feet tall and all boxed up. It hangs over the edge of our closet shelf by a good 2 inches. I know damn well there is no coffee urn-sized hole in any of her storage spaces. Maybe someone cleaned and put it away for her. There's a little back and forth, but I avoid the conversation. I'm sure I was being steered to. It's not her coffee urn, it's mine. And I like to imagine my mother-in-law trying to explain to her bridge group that while it's her coffee urn, she stores it at my smaller house. Too long didn't read, mother-in-law has a friend call me to borrow my coffee urn claiming it's hers. I play dumb and tell a friend I don't have mother-in-law's coffee urn, and the place to look for it is somewhere in mother-in-law's own apartment. Final update. My coffee urn was not a coffee urn, but it was mine. I cannot believe how much time I have given over to writing about this coffee urn, but here goes what will be the final word on it, I'm quite sure. To recap, my in-laws had a brunch, borrowed my coffee urn, and then after I got it back, a friend of my mother-in-law called asking that I return mother-in-law's coffee urn soon so they could use it for their bridge club. Because I'm wary of anything mother-in-law, I denied having mother-in-law's coffee urn. Failed to mention the coffee urn I do have that is my own, and settled in for the second act. Several people suggested my husband buy her a coffee urn of her very own, perhaps for Mother's Day, and it turns out he had the same idea because unbeknownst to me, roughly the same time mother-in-law's friend was calling me, mother-in-law called my husband. All I know about their conversation is that it did not go the way mother-in-law had hoped. The only reason I had loaned her my coffee urn to begin with was because I had said no when she had asked me if they could borrow it. She cried to my husband and said I had said yes, and then changed my mind. I realize I could have said F you all and just not gone along with husband asking me to please, just this once pretty please, almost a direct quote, but I chose instead to loan it to her as inconveniently as I could manage, and this was apparently the thrust of her argument why the coffee urn should reside with her going forward. Other things happened in the background that were unknown to me, but the one thing I did know going into lunch at the in-laws last Sunday was that husband was toying with buying his mother a coffee urn of her very own, and that he had flat out told her he was not supporting her claim on mine. Everyone caught up? Good. Okay, now the long part. We're in the dining room of their retirement community. I'm once again stuffing my face with shrimp cocktail. I really love shrimp cocktail. When who should walk over but the friend of mother-in-law's who called me. They have a brief chit-chat so riddled with head jerks in my direction and hanging sentences. So are we, I cannot believe they think I don't notice. I assume they want someone, anyone, to ask, what's up? No one does. Finally, friend cannot take it any longer and just blurts, I know you lied to me, and was taking a breath to continue when husband said, I lied to you? When? Which took even me by surprise. Mother-in-law starts oh-knowing, and this is not the time and other crap, but husband repeats himself, and friend says, not you, Schnitz. Schnitz lied to me when she said blah blah blah. And then he said, I agree, someone has been lying, but Schnitz does not have mother-in-law's coffee urn. I looked into buying mother-in-law a coffee urn of her own, but I cannot afford it. Let me break here to say my husband and I each have 20 to 30 years in our chosen professions and no children. We're not as well off as the in-laws, but we could certainly afford a coffee urn. My expression was just as what the fuck as everyone else's. And that's when he laid it all out. In an attempt to locate a coffee urn like mine for his mother, he learned that you can skip the specifics of coffee urn versus Schaefer by skipping the asterisk bit. 1. My coffee urn is actually a coffee Schaefer, as it was made to work with canned heat. I actually knew this but had no idea there was another name for it. Also, I never used the canned heat. Because 2, it was fitted with an external heating element that slides between the Schaefer and the canned heat holder thing. And apparently, that is key, as this electrical element does not block anyone from also trying to use canned heat, and this is a major fire hazard. As a result, they no longer manufacture the unit I have, but it is quite prized among people who prize these things, and it is worth right around $2,000. Yes, you read that right, $2,000. We all sort of sat there, kind of winded, and then he said the thing that made up for all previous transgressions. He told his mother that she had spread around that I had stolen, his word, something worth thousands of dollars from her in an attempt to take the same high-value item from me, and that I deserved an apology. Now, in front of her meddling friend, he didn't use the word meddling, and fellow Redditors, she did it. She apologized, throwing just the littlest bit of blame on the friend. Friend misunderstood, which I know she's going to pay for. But that's between them. And then she asked if she could borrow it. Certainly the only reason I got an apology. I said, hell no, I want to sell it. Can we sell it? Husband said he had. In fact, found a buyer, the caterer from the brunch. So we sold it. The end. I unfortunately don't have much commentary for this post because the W/ rained absolute hell on my dyslexia, and my brain is not happy right now. I think I've only thrown in the towel when it comes to commentary on maybe 3 posts in the 700 plus videos that I've uploaded, and this is just gonna have to be one of them. Because, like, the amount of times I had to re-record the same sentence because I just struggled with the W/ is just, it's just too much. I'm gonna be real. I don't know why that was put there. But it just rained hell on my ability to read. And for some stupid reason, I powered through it. I could have just found another post, but I didn't. So here we are, drowning. That's kind of a weird, soft reference to Pajama Sam, by the way. From the, well, here we are, burning. Back when I actually had a desk job before YouTube, when I was like 18, I used to prepare the coffee urns because I would show up at 4 a.m. and I would especially do this when I was actively working on the YouTube channels because, like, I would go to bed at midnight, wake up at 4 a.m., and then work for like 5 hours, then go to class, then come home at 8 p.m., then make YouTube videos, and then I would usually get those done by 12, then I would go to bed, then wake up and rinse and repeat for 6 months, and that's how I built the YouTube channels, like Oz Media and Oz's Vault, once upon a time. That was a lot. That was a lot of my body. Yeah, I started sleeping in the parking garage between classes to catch up on sleep, and that's when I realized that I was doing too much, and then finally quit the desk job. And then, yeah, things kind of got a bit easier from there. That was just a lot. But yeah, I would prep the coffee urns every morning. Huh. Well, it seems that we've hit the outro, where I'm once again gonna tell you to use code OZ at checkout for 10% off with Gamer Subs, which is, you know, caffeine free. They got their sleep aids and their hydration aids. I'm actually drinking one of their I don't know if you heard the shaky shake. I'm actually drinking one of their hydration aids right now. It's pretty good. I actually really like it. It's just a very nice way to, like, stay hydrated with electrolytes and whatnot. And, it's kind of sort of also replacing my water in the vocal booth, but not like I'm only drinking this. I still drink regular water. I just drink this in the booth because it really helps with mouth noises, which is a big problem that I've been dealing with. Which, that means it's doing its job, so very happy about that. Be sure to like and subscribe and do all the stuff that the YouTube gods recommend. Because YouTube is an evil mistress, and she doesn't give a safe word, which sucks because sometimes even when it's going really good, I want to fuck off this trade just for a little bit. Please. So yeah, like, subscribe, memberships, notifications, comment, gamer subs, all that fun stuff. That'd be super cool. I'll catch y'all next time.